Welcome to the panel. I'm your host, Lovedale, and today's episode is titled Things I Wish I Knew Before I Started My Business. On today's panel, we have Junior Ogunyemi, who is a multi-award winning entrepreneur. We have Adrian Wiggins, who's the founder of Big Beat, and we have Richard Onitolo, who's the founder of Lyrically Inspired. Welcome to the panel. So tell me a bit more about yourselves. Let's start with you, Adrian. Just tell me a bit about your business journey.
Okay, so I'm a musician, started drumming and eventually teaching samba drumming, and found that I was quite good at it, and set up my own community samba group and started getting paid for what I did. I thought, this is good. Eventually started teaching in schools, and then I was contacted one day by a corporate company asking if I'd come and do a workshop for them, which I did, and it went down really well, and here I am now, 18 years on.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Junior.
I grew up around entrepreneurs, so I always knew a little bit about it. But I guess I was given some really good career advice, which was find something you like doing and get someone to pay you for it. So I thought, I'm going to get paid to play Premiership football, and that didn't quite happen. So I thought the next best thing to playing football would be coaching football. And I got parents to pay me to coach their kids. And it sort of grew from there. That was my first business, age 16, 17, which is a football coaching academy. And then fast forward several years later, I grew it. I started hiring many more coaches, started winning lots of different awards. I used the entrepreneurial skills I learned there to set up other businesses that I was passionate about. And it's just been a wonderful journey, lots of ups and downs, but through it all, I've had lots of lessons. I ended up writing a book called How to Be a Student Entrepreneur to help other young people who wanted to go into entrepreneurship. Because literally for me, it helps pay my way throughout university. So it was an amazing thing to discover how to be an entrepreneur. So fast forward about 10 years later, I'm still training other entrepreneurs now. And I run an academy called Entrepower Academy, where we empower the next wave of entrepreneurs to go out there and make it happen.
Amazing. Richard.
Yeah, I'm the owner of Lyrically Inspired Limited. We supply promotional products to different companies around London, UK, and all over the world, basically. And I started my journey from my secondary school, even though my business, Lyrically Inspired, started 10, 12 years ago. So secondary school, my final year, even in secondary school, my maths was rubbish, and final year, a friend of mine really kind of challenged me. When you have bullies and you have people that will say, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I just took that upon myself to challenge myself on maths and to try and understand why I didn't like maths. But to cut a long story short, I kind of nicked it there. In my final year, I passed my maths based on the fact that I just needed to challenge myself for someone to not call me names based on my, not knowing maths. And people would ask me, where did the design come in? But I always say to people out there, you never know what you got until you try. So I then tried design along the way, apart from the teaching that I did in maths as well. So I did the design, and this is where Lyrically Inspired got me, basically.
Awesome. So for people that are interested in starting a business, how can they get funding, or how can they fund their dream? How can they fund their business?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I've always, even up till now, said to myself, I don't want to get a loan. And it's not me being stubborn. It's just me thinking, I can get that money, or survival money, like I call it, another way. I could fund my own self. Even if I need to clean, if I need to do anything to actually fund my passion, I will do it, rather than start getting 10,000 loan, 100,000 loan.
I meet a lot of people who say, hey, can you introduce me to investors? And no investor is going to invest in you if you've never invested in yourself. Like, if you're too scared to put your own hard work money in there, why would they put their own money in it? It's so you've got to show that you actually believe in the idea. Yep. And part of showing that you believe in the idea is that you scraped some money to the side, you sold everything you have, and you've committed to that idea. Because it shows that, you're not just going to, if it starts to go south, you're not just going to walk away because with someone else's money. That you're too committed in it. Yeah. So I think there's a huge part. But I think a lot of people use funding as a barrier, a mental barrier, because to be honest, you don't need money to make money. You need clients to make money. And just getting your first round of clients, how much does that actually cost you? Sometimes it could be as easy as going to a networking event. But what a lot of people do, they see the big dream, they see the houses, the cars, and the whole office, and that's not where nobody starts. Nobody starts like that. You just need your first round of clients, and that doesn't actually cost much money at all. Sometimes you don't even need a website. You don't need a business card. You just need to go out there and pitch your business to the right people, get their feedback, tweak it, pitch it again until they say, yep, do you know what, here you go, take the money. Let me see what you can do. So I think money isn't as much of a barrier as people make it out to be.
Adrian, with Big Beat, how did you fund Big Beat when you started that?
I didn't get any funding. I think I just saw an opportunity to expand it. So I was already teaching in schools, and this was before the internet. I mean, not before the internet, but it was before the internet was really what it is now. I remember having an email address. That's all I had, and I thought the way forward for me to do my team building or deliver my drumming events were through event management companies. So I remember emailing without any website. I'd done my own. I don't think I did a flyer actually. I just said, hi, I can run team building events through the medium of music to 40 event management companies, and 2 of which went, oh, hey, send us some more details. Okay, don't have any details, but yeah, I can do this, I can do that. And one of them is still my client today. So most of my work is for their clients, and it can be anything from a small to medium to large scale corporate client. So we've worked, it's worked, so no funding, I just fed it all back in.
So, I mean, if someone genuinely does need funding, I would ask them, I'd always ask them, what are you using it for? That would determine the type of funding that you go for. For example, you could either use it as a cushion or a springboard. I mean, I also used to say, don't go for any loans, but now if I know that the money is going to be used as a springboard, I don't mind using someone else's money for that, because I'm going to have to pay that back. But if you're using the money as, just a buffer, just in case, the money you can fall back on, and you've taken a loan for that, remember, you still got to pay that back. So it determines what you're using the money for. That's what will determine, where you go get it from, whether you go for grants, whether you go for family and friends. That's if you're going to put the money towards a cushion. If you're going to be using it as a springboard to leverage for maybe marketing purposes or growing the team or buying a product that's going to actually catapult your market, then you can possibly go for loans, maybe even go for investment and things like that. But try not to go for investment too early, because you will regret that decision if it's far too early. And you want to be at a better bargaining position as well if you do go for investors. So don't go for it when you're desperate, basically.
So I guess when people are thinking about starting a business, rather than just going straight for, okay, let me go and find some funding, they need to kind of explore other options. Like you say, be a bit creative and think about, how else can I actually get some money? How can I use, even if it's one client, to pump back into my business?
Think about what you're going to use the money for. You're going to use it for particular resources. Can you not just cut the middleman and just go straight to the resources? When I set up the football coaching academy, I had no money. I was a teenager, but I had some friends who were qualified coaches. So I said, all right, come and work for me for 3 months. I can't afford to pay you, but I'll pay you back once we start to generate money. I had another coach who had lots of equipment. I said, can I borrow your equipment on a Sunday morning just for a couple months afterwards? Once I make a bit of money, I'll pay you back. Once I buy my own equipment. They both said yes. So I had the kids there, the clients, had the equipment, and I had the coaches. Voila, I started making money. And if I'd seen money as a barrier, then I would have said, oh, I can't afford to pay coaches. Well, I've got some friends, I can talk to them and I can come to some negotiations. I've got someone else, I could just borrow their equipment there for the meantime until I can actually start to fund myself and then paying back with interest, whatever it is. So you can find creative ways, because at the end of the day, you're going to take that money, you're going to use it for something. Why not just go straight for that thing? Negotiate with that thing, talk to someone about it, even borrow that thing until you can make your money and then pay it all back. So I think sometimes having too much money reduces your creativity. When you don't see when you don't have that luxury and that flexibility of having lots of funds available, you get very creative, and as an entrepreneur you need to get creative. Some of my best marketing methods has come when I didn't have any more money left in the marketing budget.
One of the things I would like to have known more about before I got into business was the art of following why you got into it and keeping that going. You know, I'm starting to relearn that now, because you can get
Gets lost.
You can get lost with it. Yeah, definitely, especially if you're doing it for a long time. Yeah.
So okay, so someone started up their business, they've got clients. How do you maintain clientele?
Trust. I can't underline that enough. Really, trust. They've got to trust you. You've got to trust them. You've got to deliver the product, and not a lot else really. Is there?
I think a lot of people forget, because you watch shows like, I don't know, like Dragon's Den and Apprentice, and you think business is like this big transactional thing, and you just got to get the best deal and run away. Like, you're never going to see that person again. You want to see that person again. Business isn't a transaction; it's a relationship.
Yeah.
And you know, they say it's 6 times easier to sell to an existing client. So why would you not take advantage of that and actually, you know, just build a relationship with that person? It's not about, can I get your money and run away and give you a product. If it was like that, then everyone can be sharky, but you have to build that trust. They have to know you, they have to like you. Especially if you're in business for the long term, there's so much value in actually investing time, energy and resources to build that relationship with them.
When you're building that relationship, look at it like you're selling to your friend. Even the person has come to you, called you as a stranger, look at it like this is your friend and they need help and you're a problem solver. And if you've solved their problem the first time, second time, and they're happy, there's a higher chance that they're going to come back to you next year, the year after. So when you now get to a situation where something has happened or something's gone wrong, the way you deal with it, if they're very happy with the way you dealt with it, no matter how stressed they were, they would always come back to you. Because in any relationship, there's always good and bad. There's always ups and downs. And customers understand that. But if they see that you're the kind of person where something's gone wrong and you're putting the blame on the customer, then you've lost that customer forever. And they'll never refer other people because they know that they're going to be extra stressed and their friends are going to be extra stressed. So you're friends with them, you're friends with their friends, and it's a web.
I also think it's important to be adaptable, and nothing stays the same as well, because you think, everything's great, business is going well, and then all of a sudden something comes along and people don't want that.
Yeah.
You only have to walk. I was walking around, I live in Crystal Palace, and walking around all the shops they've got there, they've got blue plaques saying what was on the shops before. I was looking at them thinking, wow, there was I forgot what it's called now, a hat maker. They've been there for 40 years, and when they were there for 40 years, they were probably thinking, this is great, business is fantastic. But who goes to a hat making shop now,
Yeah, don't get complacent. I think feedback is essential. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs are scared to ask for feedback because it's going to be negative. Yeah. If it's negative, it's good for you because you know what to improve, as opposed to doing the guesswork or annoying your clients because you never bother to ask for, what is the biggest frustration about what we do. Some of the feedback, everything we've done has been based off feedback. A lot of people think, oh, you're the genius that all the ideas come from you. No, I'm just a reporter. I'm just taking notes. I don't come up with these ideas. The clients come up with all these ideas in terms of how to change things, how to adapt things, how to improve things, how to stay on top of the competitors. I just take it on board as feedback and I implement it. When they see that the feedback has been taken on board, they feel even more invested in your company because it's like, oh yeah, now finally they're doing that thing that I love, and you're filling that gap in their heart and all their needs. So yeah, I think taking on that feedback is essential. That is how you sort of stay relevant in their minds. Otherwise, before you're gone, you're gone.
I think all of you have run a business for many years now, like a specific business. How do you maintain a business over a number of years, considering all the changes that go on in society, especially now things are rapidly changing? How do you keep your business fresh? How do you keep it relevant? How do you maintain a business?
Good question.
That's a very good question.
It's a hard one to answer. You have to, like I say, you have to adapt. You have to come up with, well, in my case, come up with new products. Lots of ideas that are shelved. that I want to bring out, but then it's hard because you know what you're good at, and it's a bit like I'm good at being a striker. Do I want to now become a holding midfielder?
And I think it is also like, you have to have that heart and that mindset that I need to be consistently consistent.
Yeah.
I think one of the curses, it was a blessing and a curse, that entrepreneurs are good at spotting new opportunities. But that's a blessing side of thing. But the problem is you've got that shiny object syndrome where you always think the grass is greener, or things are going well and you get bored and you're like, all right, let me set up a new business here. So having that focus and that patience and that consistency to just keep going and keep going and keep going. I think so many entrepreneurs get so distracted now, and it's easier to get distracted when things are actually going good, because you put your feet up, you go on holiday a bit more, you take your eye off the ball. And that's when you're not adaptable. Yeah, exactly. So you just have to have that heart to say, do you know what, I'm in this for the long haul. And even when things are going good, we want to keep it good. And realizing that you've never actually won the game, because the race never ends. It's not like, oh yeah, we're top, because next year a new competitor or a new app might come and wipe out your whole industry. So
keeping your passion as well.
Yeah, just keep that passion going.
While you do what you do. I think that's the most important. That's what I've learned. And being in it so long is why I still do it.
It's like when you're bringing up a child, so many things will go wrong, so many things will go right. You still bring up that child, and you know that this child forever, I've got this child. So you got to make it work, So whichever way, when I look at my business, whether there's recession, whether there's no recession, it's still going to have to work because it's embedded within me and my business has to survive. That's my child. So, and then that's how I make it happen.
So how do you survive those kind of rough times? How do you survive the times where you haven't got, I guess business can be seasonal depending on the type of business you're running. How do you survive those kind of low seasons in business?
I think there's two things. The first thing really, systems. You have systems in place. Once you've gone through the season once and the season twice and the season 3 times, you know the ups and downs, so you sort of prepare for it. Whereas a newcomer might not realize what's about to hit them, but you are aware. So I think now there's probably every single fire that could have happened, I've put it out. So I've been around the block a few times in that particular business, so I know what could go wrong, and I know how to mitigate for it, and I know how to cover it. So that helps, and that just comes from experience. But when something does go wrong, I create a system to solve that problem. I don't try to depend on my own willpower or my own brain, because what if I'm not there? What if someone else needs to run it? Because if I'm sick, then the business is sick. If I'm on holiday, the business is on holiday. So now I try to develop systems and put managers in place and start to delegate more things. So the business isn't so dependent on me. It's more dependent on the system that I created. And that's what just keeps things going over and over and over again. Yeah, it's that experience of knowing the seasons and preparing for it. And once you do know that stuff, build systems in place so you get the ideal outcome every single time, whether you're there or whether you're not there.
Yeah. How do you, because you just mentioned something, how do you know when it's the right time to actually bring in more people to your team when you're no longer able to run a business just by yourself?
It gets to a stage where you know you're exhausted. And that point, you just know, even sometimes you can predict, if I get 100 customers, if I get 1,000 customers, I might not be able to do this.
It's a fine line between working on the business and working in the business.
What's the difference between the two?
Well, working in the business is you're doing the job. Working on the business is when you're keeping the work coming in. And if you don't work on the business, and we mentioned it earlier on about resting on your laurels, which is what I did a few years ago. I had a good client. Didn't think I needed to go and get any other clients because they were bringing me lots of work, and all of a sudden they just stopped, and I was just like, what's happened? Nothing had happened. They just decided to go a different direction. That's why I learned a good lesson there. Nothing lasts forever. I'd managed to put in a system before and worked on creating avenues to getting more clients. Fortunately, that kicked in.
I like to use the example of, like, imagine you had a glass cup, And working in the business would be filling up that cup. So, you filled up the cup and everyone's like, oh, we're at capacity, we're growing, we're growing, we're growing. You're not growing, you're just filling up capacity, really. You haven't grown. Working on the business would be getting a bigger cup. So build it, or who's the one building the bigger cup? Because that's when you can now fill more capacity and so on and so forth. If you're the person filling up the cup, filling up capacity, who's growing, who's getting a bigger jar? Because eventually you're going to overflow, and that's when you start to do the burnout and stuff like that. What people don't realize is that us as human beings, as skilled as we are, as great as we are, you could be, I don't care how amazing you are, you're a limited resource. And you've only got 24 hours a day. You've only got a certain amount of time, only got a certain amount of skills, only got a certain amount of attention. You've only got a certain amount of energy. So all of this stuff is going to eventually conflict with how you want to grow your business. So that's why you have to remove yourself from being the person that feels it, get the team in, leverage their time and their skills, and just keep growing and growing. So you're the person that's getting the bigger jars and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's not even really about how skilled you are. Sometimes you have to delegate because you're the only skilled person, or God forbid, what if you got hit by a bus? So no one in your team could do that skilled activity because it's so dependent on you. So now what I've learned, and that's a very hard thing to learn, because as an entrepreneur, I think there is a little bit of an ego about it, that, do you know what, look what I've created. Let's be honest. And so I love doing sales calls. I train people with sales calls. I love doing sales calls with passion. It's like, yeah, look at the sales call, we landed that big client. And I realized that shouldn't be worth celebrating. They should be doing the sales calls and they should be celebrating. If you're still the best salesperson, then that means they're dependent on you. They're going to keep coming back to you. I even need to hire people who are better salespeople than me, because how else is the business going to grow beyond me? Or I need to train everybody else to at least achieve the same sales conversions as I can get. Not everyone will do things as perfect as you, because at the end of the day, it's not their business. They don't have the same passion about it, but you still have to allow them that and give them that grace to make mistakes, learn, and take it on. And if they can't, you replace them, but so on and so forth. The whole point is that you're not always hands-on, because the business can't grow with you involved.
Well, I think there's a fine lines between whether you're a product business or a service business as well. And take for instance, like a driving instructor. Only they can earn their money.
Exactly.
Somebody else, unless you create a school of driving instructors. You can get lots of people to make your T-shirts for you, can't you?
Sorry?
You can get lots of people to make your T-shirts. It's not always about you.
Yeah, it's not just about
having to turn out 20,000 a week.
And it depends on the vision as well, where you actually want to take
vision,
things. Some people don't actually want to grow beyond themselves, because, like I said, it might be a lifestyle business. They're enjoying doing this. I mean, effectively, if you delegate everything, you're basically redundant.
But the problem, though, I need to pose to you entrepreneurs here is, how do you now level it where you've got people on your team and they might just leave you tomorrow, and you've been together for like 5 years, and you know that they can just leave you tomorrow? All of them can just quit.
Yeah.
So that's the problem we all face, and we need to
I think
face it.
it's not so much of a problem, it's more of a fear or reservation that people have, because it's true that can happen, it's valid, I guess. Put it this way, I see it because I've had that issue, where I've trained people, made them really, really good, invested so much time and energy in training them, and then they're gone. They've either gone and set up a competitive company, or they've gone to work with a competitor, or they've gone off to do something else. I'm like, people like, Junior, why would you spend all that time and energy training people if these people can leave? But the way I see it is, why would I spend all that why would I not train them and employ them? That would be more scary, if I have people that aren't skilled there. So I'd rather train you, knowing full well that you might leave, as opposed to have you here and you're not competent enough. That will be more destructive to the company, I think, to keep somebody on there that's not competent. So it's part of the parcel. Obviously, you could put like contract employment laws and stuff like that in place, but I think the same way you keep customers, you keep employees as well. The trust, the relationship.
So how do you then, what are the things that you would say you need to look out for when selecting someone to join your team?
Trust.
Yeah. I have 3 things. They have to be competent, obviously, they have to do a job. I know loads of people employ their best friend or their boyfriend or something like that. I'm like, is he actually good at doing the task? So you have to be competent. The character, is also another thing. I can train you on how to do the activity, but I cannot train your character. That's your parents' responsibility. They should have done that job. So you're competent, your character, and the chemistry. They have to fit within the company culture. And I have like different organizations, and I did have different cultures within there as well. So some people who are really good, they won't fit in the culture of the other organization because it's probably a bit more corporate here, where it's a bit more relaxed. So they have to have a personality where you can get on with the rest of the team. So I always look at the competence, the character, and then the chemistry. If someone hasn't got all three, I'm like, sorry, your CV is great, you're a great individual, but you don't fit in with the chemistry. Or, you know, we get so much good chemistry, but you're not actually good at the job. So if they don't fit all three, I don't take them on board. I've had people who I mentor, businesses owners that I mentor, and one of them will call me with a situation like, Junior, one of my employees has stolen something from the till, what should I do? And I'll be like, fire him straight away. And then someone else will call me with the exact same problem, say, Junior, one of my employees have stolen something from the till, what should I do? I'm like, talk to them, figure out why they did it, what's their issue. And the only reason I'll give, you know, two different pieces of advice for the same situation is because I know the company's culture and their values. These people, it's all about, you know, honesty and integrity, and someone's broken that's one of your high values, deal with it.
Yeah.
Whereas these people, it's all about, you know, family, and you wouldn't just fire a family member, you'd help them. It's all about, you know, supporting their staff. So because they have a different culture, I give different advice for the exact same situation. So you want to encourage that culture that you, you think about all the companies with the best sort of culture that you can sort of describe, everything they do is in line with and is congruent to that culture. So it is even how you treat your employees and who you take on board as an employee.
Yeah. So I guess for people that are starting out new businesses, they have to think about what are the values they want to have in their business, what's the culture they want to create, and then make sure everyone falls in line with that specific thing. Awesome. We're going to have a question from someone in the audience.
With everything going digital now in the world, what does the future look like for starting your own business? And is going digital a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's an exciting thing. The bad side is that everything is going digital, so there's a lot more noise. So I think the only people who win really are the companies that are on that side in terms of marketing and pushing things. And it's not just with digital advertising, it's with how consumers use your products and things like that, which means certain industries are literally being wiped out or shrinking because, for example, Toys R Us, kids don't play with toys anymore. They watch other kids play with toys on YouTube. So it's the way we engage with life and things is really shifting and shaping. So, but with all bad things, there's always opportunities as well. So I think it's just about adapting. There's no point trying to fight it. There's just no point trying to fight it. You just have to adapt. If you want to keep up and you want to stay in business, you have to have a digital element. It used to be, you know, back in the day, you have to have a website. That was just the only digital tool you have. Now you have to have Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. Why? Because people's shopping habits change. People don't just go through personal recommendation. They go see what other strangers have said about you online. They go look at how many followers you have to see how credible you are, and what is out there about you on Twitter before they make their buying decision. So it's inevitable. So it's an exciting opportunity, but I think people have to be ready for it, and you can't just bury your head in the sand and say, oh, I'm not digitally savvy, I'm not going to do anything online. You have to have an online presence. You have to understand that your consumers are digitally savvy, even if you're not. So you just have to adapt.
I used to have shop in Hackney, and then I had shop in West End. And in my beginning stages in my business, it was more a bit of like a pride, ego thing. Like, oh, I run a business now, I've got to have a front shop, you know? When social media came up and I still had the shop, I'm thinking, why am I paying all this money and I don't know if customers are going to come into my shop? And I just decided to just get a workshop that is like the running cost really low and I'm still making profits, and I can go online and just promote, like I said in the beginning, £1, £2 per day or whatever, you know? So it keeps running cost really low. And for us business people, like what you guys have said already, you can actually know your customers better by that footprint. They're all there.
From what I'm seeing, a lot of businesses try to do everything. They feel maybe that to bring in more customers, they need to kind of expand and just add some random bells and whistles to their business to try and reach more clients. So what would you say about that? Do you think people should have a focus, key area?
Completely. When I'm doing mentoring, I refuse to work with anybody if you haven't identified who your target audience is. If you tell me your target audience is everybody, that means nothing. It's like, you wouldn't go on a date and the person asks you, oh, do you love me? You say, oh yeah, I love everybody. It just wouldn't work like that. But if you say, no, I love people specifically like you who have your qualities, that's how your client feels when you have a niche. If you are too broad, and the reason people are broad is because they're scared that, the client's going to walk away, I'm going to lose them. So good, lose them. It's better that way, that you have a niche that you focus on, because you will attract more people who are serious as opposed to just people who are interested. And everybody wants to work with the specialist. Everybody wants to work with a specialist. And if you don't present yourself as a specialist, you say you're just general, then they will go to the specialist. And that's who you're competing. You're creating more competition for yourself if you don't have a niche. I remember when because I've got like business mentors myself, and there was one I was having a cup of coffee with one of my business mentors, and I said, listen, I'm working on this idea, but I can't decide which one is going to be the £1 million idea. And he said, it's not actually about which idea is the £1 million idea, it's about, are you a £1 million person? Because any idea you touch will turn into £1 million, but you have to be that £1 million person. So, but we're always looking for which idea has the most potential. It's just like any seed that you look after, you nurture it, you water it, you give it the right sunlight, it will grow. Regardless of whatever the circumstances, it will grow. If you're not looking after it because you have too many seeds that you're planting, of course it's not going to grow.
I think that's the essence of actually being in business. You just touched on that, is working on yourself.
Yeah.
That's more important than anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've got to work on
huge.
yourself.
It's huge. You're the engine of the business.
Yeah, working on the business is secondary.
Yeah,
everything else secondary. You've got to work on yourself.
So to close us out, I know time has gone really fast. What are your top 3 tips on business? I'm going to start with you, Richard. Your top, I know that you're probably going to have a lot of tips, but what are your top 3 tips on business?
Okay, the first one, I'm going to kind of slightly longer, right? I've got a strategy that I use. It's called DFE. So it's desire, faith, and action. DFA. Yeah. So basically, what that means is, if you're going into any business, think of it like you have to have a burning desire. Even if it's a little desire, don't talk about burning. A little desire for what you want to do, what you're about to do, regardless of the business. Then you have to have faith that this is going to work. Even though you're going to fail sometimes, but this is going to work. It's got to be a passion, yeah? And then put things into action. Even if you don't have the money, just play around with it, toy with it, yeah? It might not earn you money in the first time, When you've put into action, see how you've gone wrong, how you've gone right, then come back to the desire again, burn it up. So the burning desire, that's where things start building up. When you have that burning desire, then there's more chances that when you put the action into place, it's going to work more for you. The second one I would say, just be valuable. Be a problem solver and be valuable within your niche. So obviously create things that would make customers want to come back. So whatever passion you've got, just know that you just got to build up your value. And the final one is also learn about a lot of great people, what they've gone through as well, so that you're not always reinventing the wheel. Look at their failure, look at their successes, read books and YouTube in the back of whatever you're working on. Always play the YouTube videos, and especially those people that are in your kind of business that you're going to set up, read up on them.
Junior.
So validate your idea. Don't just run with the idea because it's your idea. Validate it, test it. Quite simply, if you can get 10 people to buy it, you're probably onto something. If you can reach the VAT threshold, you're definitely onto something. All right, so validate your idea. That's a way of testing. Second thing is build your skills. Build your skills. Never stop developing your skills, because you are the engine of the business. At the end of the day, everything will rise and fall on leadership and your skills, your ability. So The more skills you have, the more problems you can solve. So definitely build your skills, read books, go to seminars, do whatever you can, invest in yourself. And that's the smartest thing you can do, not just buy business cards and things, invest in yourself. And finally, off the back of that, get a mentor. Definitely get a mentor. It's very easy to make mistakes in business. It's very easy to get carried away. We've all been there, we've all done that. But you can learn 50, 60 years worth of mistakes just by having a mentor. You can save yourself thousands and thousands of pounds just by having a mentor.
Thank you. Adrian?
Top 3, I think work on your why. Keep that close to you all the way through. Why you got into it, why you're still doing it, why, and I think everyone will follow that. Work on yourself, that's really important, following up what you're saying. Keep reading, listen to podcasts, listening to the people that have done it before, and trust. I think if people trust you, they'll follow you. You know, if you trust yourself, and if you look in the mirror and say, "I'm doing a good job here," I think people will believe in that. That's worked for me. If people trust you and you trust yourself, then you're doing something right.
Amazing. Thank you. A great panel. Thank you for... Okay, tell us where we can find out more about you and your businesses, Adrian.
So you can look at my company called Big Beat, www.bigbeat.biz, Twitter @BoomTubes, Instagram is Big Beat Group. There are others, but I think that's enough for now.
Thanks, Junior.
You can go to my website. It's just my name, www.junioroganyemi.com. You can also get a copy of my books there. I've got 2 books that's out. One is How to Be a Student Entrepreneur, and the other one is Young Fed Up Professionals. It's all about strategies to get out of the rat race. And if anyone's interested in terms of learning more about business, they can check out our company, which is entrepower.co.uk.
Amazing. And Richard?
Okay, I've got 2 Instagram accounts for Lyrically Inspired. So there's the blog account page, Lyrically Inspired Team, and then there's the one where you can see all the products like this T-shirt here, and all the some of the customized items as well, which is Lyrically Inspired Products. Okay, so the first one is the blog one, Lyrically Inspired Team, and the second one is Lyrically Inspired Products. And then the website is www.lyricallyinspired.com.
Awesome. We've come to the end of our show. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you at our next show. To have your questions answered, go to www.thepanelshow.co.uk and be sure to follow us on all of our social platforms @thepaneluk. See you next time.